This might just be the single most racist casting choice in entertainment history, as Sir Bennis the Brownshield of the second season of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms has been given the old race swapperoo. And it might be tempting to think that those pernicious cow-cum lovers over at HBO thought to themselves, aha! Now that we have suckered the audience in with a genuinely good first season, with a, of all things, straight, white, morally upstanding main character who's just trying to do what's right for once, being a hero, now we can insert our politics into it and they won't even notice. And maybe that is precisely what they said to themselves. But then, plot twist, a very clever person in charge of casting said, I have just the role. It is a prominent role, one of the first characters you see on screen, and one of the main reasons why the plot even happens in the first place. Sir Bennis, or Bennis, of the Brownshield. Now, it's probably Bennis, but I like Bennis. That's gonna get clipped. Anyways, yes, Sir Bennis is a character that is primarily demonstrated, or used as, a disgusting piece of shit. That is his main characteristics. He is dishonorable, lazy, slovenly, violent, and without his direct intervention in just simply being a giant douchebag, the entire plot would never happen, as the conflict at large wouldn't have occurred if he wasn't such an enormous shithead. And his entire existence is primarily to make Duncan look better by comparison, and as the piece de resistance, just so that George R.R. Martin could really hammer home the fact that you're not supposed to like this guy, he has the filthy habit of chewing these little leaves kind of things that color his teeth a bright red and makes him go all the time, in a nice gush of gooey brownish red awful, which then trickles down onto his shirt, of course, and anyone and everyone nearby, including spitting on the naked feet of Egg, which, judging by how Star Trek The Academy has worked out, that just seems to be a fetish amongst Hollywood producers these days. But this guy, he's the worst character you can imagine. And out of all of the characters casting, okay, I was convinced that what would happen here was what would be that the Lady Rohanna, or something like that, I don't know the pronunciation, the Red Spider, Red Widow, that she would be recast. Of course, she would be a black woman, because she's supposed to be a redhead. We know how much Hollywood hates those, and don't worry, we do get a not particularly redheaded person to play her role as well. Now, granted, 10 years ago, when this picture was taken, I can see it. In fact, that is a very good depiction of what is supposed to be a classical old-school comic redhead. In other words, green eyes, red hair, long. That is her defining characteristics, and the fact that she's about 25, which is about what the actor would have been 10 years ago. But oh well, that's not terrible casting by any stretch of the imagination, and I could see this guy as a Eustace as well. It's not too bad. In fact, Eustace's only defining characteristics is being old and having a moustache, so that one's pretty easy. But boy, again, I stress, Sir Bennis here is supposed to be someone you hate. He causes all of the bad stuff to happen, and he even then weasel his way out of the consequences of it. See, I'm not going to spoil too much, but there's a war brewing, basically, where loads of people could die, be injured, have their homes burned, shit is about to hit the fan, and all this guy has to do is show up and get a little bit of a cut on his face or something like that. That's about it. A minor punishment, that's it. It eventually escalates until the woman is like, I'll cut his nose off. And even then, he's like, nope, not gonna do it. Not gonna do it. I'm going to risk everybody else's life because I can't be bothered. Simple as. whilst continuing his disgusting habit every step of the way. This is quite possibly one of the least aspirational characters in fiction, as he doesn't even get a satisfying death. Normally, with these kind of asshole characters, you can at the very least get some joy out of watching them be hanged, or perforated with arrows, or tossed off the cliff, or something. No, the guy lives. He's fine. The end of the story, he's just like, I'm not gonna go to the battle. No, I'm gonna sit it right out right here, whilst you go and get yourself killed on my behalf. He's the worst human being. And honestly, like, season 1, there were a lot of bad people in there. People of low honor, of low moral fiber, traitors, all kinds of douchebags. Believe me when I say, this man is worse than all of them. Hell, than all of them combined, in fact. Those characters had reasons for what they were doing. One of them was like, okay, well, I'll get a lordship of if I betray you, Sir Duncan, so fuck you, I guess. Okay, fair enough. What was the evil prince character whose name escapes me at the moment? Even his thing was like, okay, listen, the honor of my house is I'm literally the dragon, okay? We are the dragon clan, the dragon throne, dragon people, all of this. We dragons. That's our entire identity right there. And you have a play where you kill a dragon. I'm also an unstable psychopath, so I'm gonna have a breakdown over this. Okay. You know what? I can see the reasoning, but Sir Bennis is just a douchebag. I mean, his only reasoning for doing anything is basically that he's old and doesn't give a shit. Right. I'm kind of looking forward to season 2 now. Okay, now here's what's probably going to happen though, right? If we are to be sensible about this, they are now going to rewrite the entire story around this. At least that's what would usually happen in these scenarios. So instead of Sir Bennis being the root of all evil, the one that initiates the confrontation, maybe it'll be Egg doing something dumb. Or maybe it'll be Duncan, who will suddenly act completely 360 degrees out of character, just woo, and do something crazy to cause it instead. And there were a couple instances of that in the first season as well. For example, in the original source material, when at the end of the season, Dunk is asked to take Egg on as a squire, Sir Duncan just says, of course, he's a good boy, I'll take him, and I'll show him the 7 kingdoms. But it must be on the condition that I can take him on the road with me. And that was it, because that's what Sir Duncan would do. He likes Egg. Of course he wants to hang out with him. But in the TV show, he's like, oh, I think I'm done with princes, judging Egg by the standards of his brother, which Sir Duncan wouldn't do, and only then reluctantly basically steals Egg away later, which also seriously undermines one of the key plot points in season 2, by the way, as well. So there is ample opportunity to mess this up, and to do it in the classic Hollywood style. But for the moment, at least, this could be very funny. This could be hilarious, as this is the kind of representation that I don't think anyone is asking for. Except perhaps for a very small subset of the American population who also, on occasion, have been known to cover crosses in petrol and set them on fire, whilst chanting loudly and occasionally creating some rather interesting fruits in the southern states, but details. I will give him this, the actor does have a fantastic resting bitch face. If I was looking for a person that could represent a character specifically designed to be hated, I might pick the guy. I might. And who knows, maybe even pulls off a Joffrey, as the poor kid that played Joffrey was way too good at his role, as he manages to actually portray a genuinely horrible human being whilst not being that at all. And that, did some damage to his career, but all details. But You really didn't need that with this character. Again, I'm not overstating things here. Sir Bennis is really easy to hate, just by being Sir Bennis. George R.R. Martin was making very sure that you didn't sympathize with this human being on any level whatsoever when he wrote the story, so I feel like this might be a little bit of butter on top of bacon, but hey, what do I know? I'm just here for the car crash anyways, and if we get another good season of A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, bonus. What do you guys think? Will this work out the way we think it probably will, in that Sir Bennis will have his character somewhat restructured for the show, for reasons, or will they actually have the balls to go through with it? Maybe the people who did the casting, or the people who signed off on it, just never read the source material. Maybe this was a test, where the casting director was like, let's see if this slips past. And then he actually got it past. And right now he's probably panicking, as he's going to be called a lot of very bad words on Twitter. Until next time, I've been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and I do hope to see you all again soon. Have a good day.